She's the friend who'll show up with coffee or wine when you need it most, but probably wine. Good vibes are on the way. Welcome to Aaron O'Malley's Feel Good Frequency.
Hi, welcome back to Aaron O'Malley's Feel Good Frequency. I'm Aaron. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. The more people I meet and chat with, the more I am blown away by how some have the ability to really take incredible, awful, deep pain and turn it into something positive, something that is going to help others. And I got to tell you, this woman is one of the strongest people I've met. Her name is Jen, and she is going to tell you all about her beautiful son, Nick Gaspar, and the difference he made in this world in his too short life, and why his name is still continuing on, along with a very special foundation that their family created. I hope you enjoy this time with Jen. I'm here with Jen Gaspar, who has just quite a story to tell, and you are keeping somebody so special alive in the most wonderful way. Can you tell me about Nick and what happened and how this all came about?
So Nick was 14 years old. This was back in 2021. He was in 8th grade. It was May, and we noticed some changes with him. It started off by him sleeping late in the morning, where he was my kid that was usually first one up, ready to go to school, and he couldn't get himself out of bed in the morning. So that was strange. Then we noticed a few things, sports related. We thought he had injured his hip and he was a little off. Actually, I thought maybe he was experiencing depression or just something was bothering him.
Yeah, 8th grade is not an easy time.
Yeah, and it just wasn't like him. He was just a happy, outgoing kid and did his thing, never an issue. And there was something. And whenever I would ask him what was wrong, his answer was always, I'm fine, I'm fine. And that was it. And I ended up calling the school and kind of just trying to get a feel if he was okay at school. And, they weren't noticing much, but they said they would keep an eye on it. Called this pediatrician, had this long talk with the pediatrician, and we were kind of just going to keep an eye on him. And as that week went on, one night he was out with his brother and his best friend, and they were riding bikes, and my son called and said that he had fallen off his bike, which was pretty unusual. He said he kind of hit a trash can at one point and, was off balance. So my husband went and picked him up, and we started to notice a tremor in his hand. And, the next day I said, you know what, I'm not going to wake him up in the morning. I'm going to set an alarm. I set an alarm across the room from his bed, and that alarm just kept going off and didn't faze him. And then I said, you know what, can I just see your hand? There was a tremble. So I did call the pediatrician, and they wanted to see him right away. My husband took him in, and they sent us straight to Children's Hospital. Again, at the time, I'm thinking, maybe he's sick or has some sort of infection going on. And when I got there to meet them, the mention of a brain tumor came up, but again, I wasn't thinking much. And he went in for an MRI, and he must have been in there for over 2 hours. And, at that time of night, no one was around. My husband and I were stuck in this room by ourselves. When they, came out, they had told us that he had a brain tumor. And so he was probably in the hospital at that point for maybe 3 weeks, and we had a biopsy done, and it came back as a germ cell tumor, which at the time was kind of best case scenario. If you do some research on germ cell tumors, for the most part, they are pretty curable. It's a very high cure rate.
Very rare too, though, isn't it?
Extremely rare. And what I have found out now is, you're looking at maybe 0.53% of kids in North America have this,
Wow.
Which is not much. That kind of tells you not much research is being done. It's also something that happens when the baby is in utero. So your germ cells kind of all disperse to where they're supposed to go, and his kind of got lost and went straight to the brain. So this was there from birth. It's just we would have never known. And typically what happens is during puberty, which makes sense, he was 14 years old, something happens and it starts to grow at that point. And, they didn't want to touch it where the area was. The assumption was that chemo would take care of it, because that's typically what you see in these germ cell tumors, is that they're pretty responsive to chemo. After he was released from Children's, we went to Spalding Rehab for a little bit. He had to learn how to walk again.
Is this after chemo? Had he done chemo at this point?
He had started just the first round, actually, while he was at Children's, and then we got transferred over to Spalding. So he had only had one round so far. He had lost his short-term memory at that point, so we had to work on that again. He was getting OT, PT. We came home. He was able to go to like his little 8th grade celebration. That was kind of still COVID time, so I didn't have a graduation or anything, but he was able to go to that. And then, the goal was, let's get him ready and get all of this out of the way so he's ready for high school. I didn't want him to have to start behind. He's a twin. So he wanted to go with his friends. And so that summer we had gone through most of his chemo. I think we were on probably the 3rd round maybe. And we had realized that it was growing. And he was kind of diagnosed with what they call growing teratoma syndrome. It was not responding. So he was going to go in for a very risky surgery to try to resect the tumor.
Now, you have not only his twin, but don't you have another child
I have a daughter.
as well?
Yeah, I have a daughter. So at the time, she was only in 3rd grade.
So you are juggling quite a bit at this point. God bless you.
It was hard, just you want to be there for all of them. And it was hard. If you weren't at the hospital, you were constantly checking in there. If you weren't home, you're constantly checking in here. Luckily for us, we had a great support system. Between our family, friends, everyone, the community, we were extremely, extremely lucky.
Makes all the difference, doesn't it? Wow.
It really does. People just came in and took over. And thank God for that, because I'm not sure what I really feel for people that don't have that, because that's huge in something like this. And we had his surgery, and going into it, I thought, just knowing what we were looking at, maybe 50% would be taken out. So he was in there for probably about 12 hours. And when he came out, they had told us they had gotten the entire tumor out.
Wow.
Which was, huge relief. At that point, it was like, okay, we're good. We can do this.
We
he
can
was
breathe
still
a little bit again.
Yeah. He was still going to have to finish up his chemo just to make sure, and radiation. That was a really tough recovery. He was determined, and he did it. He pushed. He never complained. The goal was to, at first when he came home, we would just do laps around our backyard, and then gradually we'd move to the street, and then up to the street and back. And that was kind of our routine. And we would talk, and I would always, I'd ask him, like, why are you not mad? And he just, for 14 years old, his answer was, why get mad? There's nothing we can do. What's the point in getting mad?
Wow. That is a wise 14-year-old. Good Lord.
It is, because, for me, I'm like, well, I'm mad.
Yeah.
And,
I'm mad enough for both of us. So.
Yeah. So he ended up finishing chemo. He went through all of the radiation, which that was really tough. Once he finished, he had his port removed, and we thought, like, okay, we're in the clear. And unfortunately, it was like his next MRI, which was maybe 2 months later, and it was back. It had returned. So we decided, okay, let's go through more treatment. And then we decided he would get a stem cell transplant. He was going to receive his own stem cells.
I don't think I've ever heard of that before. I thought you always had to get them from somebody else.
Yeah, so you can get your own. I'm not sure like who doesn't and who does, but for him, he could. So anyways, we were actually in the hospital for Christmas that year, which was tough, but we made it work. And that took a lot out of him, the transplant. And unfortunately, it didn't work. We were kind of just, searching for, okay, what else can we do? Making calls around the world, pretty much, talking to anyone. But unfortunately, there's not many because there's not many people that have this. Our plan at that point was to go to Seattle. We were kind of getting all set up for it. He was going to try a CAR T cell trial, and it was just opening. He was accepted. We were going through all the appointments to get there, and that's kind of when things went south. It had spread to his brainstem at that point. There was pretty much, unfortunately, nothing more that we could do.
Is this all in 20? Are we still at the end of 2021?
No, it was 2 years. So he actually almost to the day, which is crazy. So he passed May of 2023. Yeah, I mean, he was a fighter, and the reason I do things like this is because I get to still talk about him. And while I don't love reliving all of that, I still get to tell his story, hopefully help someone else out there. And then we started his foundation after that. So
I wanted to say that you're so much stronger than I think you are even allowing yourself to get credit for, because reliving it can't be easy. But the fact that you have found a way to forever have his name live on and his legacy and just everything I've read, like his kindness and his love and his spirit, because I can't imagine how easy it would be to just allow it to break you entirely and just, I can't even talk about it. And the fact that you have found a way, you and your family have found a way to continue on with him and his spirit is it's so beautiful. And it honestly, like, I hope you give yourself credit for your mom instincts and how strong you are, because from the very beginning, you were like, I don't like this. Something's not right. And you were calling doctors and you were looking into it, and you were really having even the teachers watch over him and just check for stuff. And you knew something's not right when he's wrecking his bike. He's in 8th grade. How is he swerving and hitting a trash can? I mean, we've all wrecked our bikes, but you just knew something wasn't right. And the steps you took and the things you did, I hope other parents hear that and know you can't be overprotective enough of your kids, especially when it comes to their health. If you have a feeling something isn't right, get it checked. That's why doctors are there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I know some doctors, they'll turn people away and say, no, it's this. I've heard so many stories. And I mean, for me, I'm like, oh my God, that was a whole week that went by. But at the same time, thank God it was only that week.
That's what I was going to say. It was only a week. That's what I want you to give credit for. My goodness.
Yeah. Because who knows, maybe we wouldn't have had those 2 years with him had it gone on longer than that. Yeah. Nope, sorry, we have a dog.
Is it Pierce?
It is.
I read about Pierce. I know that Pierce was real close with Nick.
Yes, he was.
It's like Pierce is over there being like, Nick says hi.
Yeah.
I feel like animals and babies just, they see some great things that we maybe can't see. So
yeah.
Okay, so in 2023, you started this foundation, and how long after Nick's passing did you do this? Because wow, this is so incredible. A month?
It was about a month. Yeah. We had promised him in the hospital that, we would do something, hopefully to help other people. That was, we kind of got right on it. And, he already had his logo established at that point. People from town, while we were in the hospital, kind of came up with it. They knew he liked UNC, and they took the NC and turned it into an NG, and that was already done. We did have to change it up a little bit, just for legal reasons.
Sure.
But and it kind of just took off from there, and it's been super successful. And again, I think that's just because we have been blessed with an amazing community. They're the ones that make it go. We kind of just say, this is what we're going to do, but they're the ones that really make it successful.
I mean, it is not easy to start up a nonprofit from the ground, and you've done that and done it very successfully. And you even have a scholarship program. Can you tell me about
We
that?
do. So it's funny. The scholarship program, it actually just started as an award. It was called the Nick Gaspar Award. Nick was actually there the first year that it was presented. And this was done by the high school lacrosse coaches. And they just said, we want to give an award out in Nick's name, and someone who kind of represents what Nick is all about. And so that was done the first year. And then the second year, we had established the foundation. And we said, you know what, we want to add a scholarship to that. We don't want to pick the person. The coaches know the kids best. And
Sure.
so we did leave it as that. So yeah, we've added a scholarship to that. And it's fun to give that every year. And Jordan, his brother, actually received it this year.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
which was great because he is very much like Nick, and I couldn't think of a better person to deserve it.
How
So
is Jordan doing?
he's okay. He's going to college. Graduation was hard. Not only did his classmates lose Nick, they lost another student a month after Nick.
Oh, my gosh.
And so these kids have gone through a lot. They're a very special group of kids.
It makes such a difference who you have in your life and the people that surround you and lift you up when you don't feel like moving.
Yeah, because there were many of those times.
I can imagine. I can imagine. I was looking at the foundation website, and Nick had said, sometimes life is hard, but that isn't an excuse to give up.
Yeah.
For a 14-year-old to say that, or he might have been older by then, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
that is profound.
Even still, yeah, it is. So you kind of have to remind myself that sometimes. He was something. He was pretty amazing.
He played lacrosse. What else did he play? Like, what was his favorite thing?
He played basketball and lacrosse. His brother plays the same ones. Lucky for us, they were always going in the same direction, on the same teams. I think that was hard for Jordan. That was one of the things that was probably the hardest, was to not have him there and to still keep going on. But luckily he had great coaches, great teammates, and they helped him through it.
What do you want people to know about Nick who never got the opportunity to know him, meet him, know him, and love him?
Nick he was just the type of kid. He never got upset over anything. He was brilliant. One of his big things was the Rubik's Cube, which he taught himself to do, and he learned how to solve it. When he put his mind to something, he was going to do it. He was just fun loving, so sweet, such a sweet kid. He had set his phone to send me a text every morning that said, "I love you." He was just such a sweetheart. During all this, he actually became extremely faithful and was reading the Bible, which I can't take credit for. I would send him to CCD and all of those things and take him to church at times, but I had nothing to do with that. And, whether he maybe knew deep down what was happening, I don't know. I don't know what led him to that, but that was something that became really special to him and important. And I guess now I can kind of see why.
I think that would, I mean, as a mom, do you feel like it helped you to see how much he got into that and the faith he had?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's amazing now for someone his age, to just turn to faith when, that was kind of, I guess in his eyes, all that he kind of had. I don't know his reasoning. I'm sure that was it, but yeah, I think it's pretty amazing.
But gravitating toward that too, it sounds like he had an old soul, and the way that
Yes.
he just, like you were saying, just gravitated toward that it's pretty inspirational.
Yeah, an old soul would probably describe him the best. He really was. He was always trying to make others laugh in the hospital. He would always mess with the nurses. And finally, most of them pretty much caught on. But whenever they went to, poke him, he would scream.
Oh my
And they would get so nervous, and then he'd start laughing. And, it became a joke after a while. Most people knew about it.
But I'm sure he scared the daylights out of some of them too.
So many of them. So many. I mean, he did it in the ER one day. I'm like, these people don't know you.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
That needle's not going to feel good when it jams out of your arm and back in again because they're scared.
Well, that's just it. I'm like, this isn't going to play out in your favor one time. So yeah, that's just the type of kid he was, always making jokes. I think one of our favorite jokes, and I know that the nurses still talk about this, is he was meeting with the transplant doctor and she asked him, "Do you have any questions?" And he said, "I do. Have you ever had a patient as handsome as me?"
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
and luckily we can still, laugh and talk about some of the stuff that he did.
I love that you are able to do that because it does keep his spirit alive too. And I think
Yeah.
that what you've done with this, I can't even imagine the pain that you have all been carrying. The fact that you've turned it into something to help others is just, you are making the world a better place. And he
Thank you.
is still making the world a better place, which is so beautiful. And I didn't know that he had picked out the logo and he knew that you were going to do this when he wasn't here. And I'm sure that there were times when you were like, I can't, I don't know if I can do this. But then knowing that he knew you were going to, it's like that helped push you through.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really what just keeps me going. I can't imagine not doing this and just giving back. What people did for us was amazing, never expected. And I just can't imagine not doing the same. I obviously know how it feels to get that news and be in that boat. And so if we can just ease someone's pain just a little bit, even for a few minutes, then it's worth it. And as far as the research goes, we'll keep fighting and trying to fund that.
What do the donations go toward? That was the other thing. I knew about the scholarship. Can you just give a little synopsis of what you guys
The
do?
scholarship's probably one of the smallest pieces of what we do. The other thing we do is we have a contact page on our website, or it's just kind of by word of mouth, or someone will say, "Hey, I know so and so was just given a diagnosis." And what we'll do is, if we know a little bit about the family, if they have siblings, what they like, my daughter and I usually will go and shop, which is really fun, and put a whole package together for, the patient and their siblings. Send that, and then we usually do a check for the family. And, if there was something more specific that they needed, we would try to fund that as well. The other portion of it is the research, and we ended up kind of being pointed in the direction of the Jackson Laboratory, which is in Connecticut. And my husband and I had gone there to meet with the team, and they sat down with us and explained what they're doing. While they're not totally there yet as far as a cure, they're doing a lot of work with germ cell tumors. So one of the things that we funded last year was they're trying to find a non-invasive way to find out what the brain tumor is. So instead of doing a brain biopsy, which is extremely invasive, they now found that they can use the fluid from when they do a spinal tap.
Oh,
They can
wow.
use that fluid, yes, to diagnose a brain tumor. So we helped fund that, and they're kind of moving forward with that. So we're still funding them, and we actually just met with them last week, and they've been great. So it's pretty promising. Unfortunately, what happens is, because there's not a lot of kids with this brain tumor, a lot of these big companies don't want to fund something. They hear, "Hey, it's only like 3 kids in the United States that had it this year." Well, we're not going to fund that. That's not enough. And it's unfortunate, but hopefully it's the start of finding something.
It is absolutely the start. Look at what you're already doing. And you have a very specific place that's doing specific research. And that is really promising for the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also do things, actually completely forgot, Dana-Farber and Boston Children's Hospital. Holidays, we have sent all of the patients on Nick's specific floor. We have sent all the patients and their families gift cards, whether it be like downstairs to Starbucks or Amazon for the kids. And we usually send in treats for the nurses that are working for the holidays. We did the same thing over at Dana-Farber this year. And for Nick's birthday, someone had asked for the wish list at Boston Children's Hospital, and we had posted it, and people just went on and bought gifts for his birthday, but
Oh my
they were
gosh.
sent to Boston Children's Hospital, which that was really special. I loved that. I can't take credit for that. That was someone else's idea, and
But
I
look
thought
at
it was
that. I mean,
awesome.
that's
And yeah,
beautiful. And they wouldn't have even known or probably thought to do that without your
no,
foundation and knowing about Nick and what you do.
yeah,
And that is so special.
it was, and I actually loved it. So we're gonna hopefully do that every year.
I hope you get to do it every year. Now, is it nickstrongfoundation.org?
Yes,
And do you do any specific fundraising events or people can just donate
we
anytime or?
do. People can donate anytime. So in November, we have a 3v3 basketball tournament at the high school. And that's kind of for all ages. Lots of fun. I love that because the kids are involved and, they're doing something and they know they're making a difference, which that's the stuff that I love to do when they're involved. Another thing we do is our golf tournament, which we just had in June. That's a big one. And we've had it's basically like just a big party with raffles. My friend and I both did the marathon last year and this year.
God bless ya.
It's funny, we joke because the reason we ended up deciding to run the marathon was Nick would always joke with my friend and I, we do the half. He basically told us that we weren't real runners if we didn't run a marathon.
Wow. Look at
So,
that. Nick giving you grief till the end.
yeah. So we said, all right, I guess we have to run a marathon now. So we did. We said we were one and done.
We
And
all
then we
say
did
that.
it again. His neurosurgeon ran this year,
Oh, wow.
which was really cool. It was kind of cool to get to know her more on a personal level, not speaking medical. And that was really special to have her there too.
That is so fantastic. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Well,
So
he's up there like cheering you on. So proud of you. See, now you're a real runner, Mom.
now I'm a real runner, I guess. I still don't feel like one.
Oh my gosh. I love that he gave you grief about that. Like, oh, like
Yeah.
13.1 isn't enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I so love that. You're such an inspiration. And I know you probably didn't set out to be one, but you are. And I know that you are helping people, so many people. You truly are a light.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Jen, and to your whole family for starting the NickStrong Foundation. The difference you are making is inspiring. And again, if you didn't catch that website, it is nickstrongfoundation.org. You can see all of the events that they plan, even make a donation if you choose to do so, which would be awesome. nickstrongfoundation.org. Thank you for being here again this week. I really appreciate you hanging out with me. If you know somebody that would be great for this podcast, please let me know. Erin O'Malley's frequency.com is where to go to do that. Maybe it's you. You're doing something pretty cool. I'd love to know about it. Erin O'Malley's frequency.com. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll chat with you next week. Bye.